Hey everybody, and welcome to The Scope. If you're watching the replay of this, then I appreciate you watching the replay. Thank you so much, and I want to get right on into it because I have just about 10 minutes. So good morning, or good afternoon, or good night if you're watching the replay. Thank you for joining. My name is DavidSWinston, and I encourage people to be successful according to whatever God's plan is that He has for them. I am a minister, I'm a pastor, and I work with a lot of different people, and I like to help people be successful, not only spiritually, but practically as well. So good morning, everybody. I appreciate you guys joining The Scope, and I'm going to be talking about something that I got a lot of good, positive feedback about last time I did it, and I talked about getting rid of the snakes and fakes. And I got some great positive feedback last time from many different people. So thank you so much for that positive feedback. And I wanted to continue. I felt compelled this morning to continue to encourage people to get rid of the snakes and the fakes. Because I know, a lot of us, we have people that we need to get rid of in our lives. And so, I felt compelled to share this, and actually, yesterday, God actually led me to pray for everybody on Periscope who follows me or who interacts with me. So just know that if that's you, I've been praying for you specifically. You've been in my prayers, and so I want to talk real quick though about getting rid of the snakes and fakes. I posted on Instagram this morning that you shouldn't give someone your heart before you've tested their character. Really key. Don't give somebody your heart before you tested their character. And I have a question. What's the app that you can see the Periscope comments? On Google Chrome, on the Google Chrome web browser, if you go to Chatterbox, it's called Chatterbox. And you can find it in the Google store. So, but don't give someone your heart before you tested their character. So back maybe 10 years ago, when I used to live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I used to go to a barber, and I went to their barber shop. And I remember one time my wife was having a conversation with some of the people. She actually worked several stores down from the shop. And so she was having a conversation with just some of the people in the barber shop, and it was a salon also. So she was just having some conversation, and they were talking about Holly Berry and Eric Benet. And they were saying, and that was when I guess the story was breaking that he was cheating on Holly Berry. And, the conversation went, how could you cheat on Holly Berry? She's Holly Berry. Like, how could you cheat? And how can you be not faithful to such a beautiful woman? And, this, that. And so they went back and forth for a while. And my barber, he said this, and I'll never forget it. I still quote it to this day. Me and my wife still quote it to this day. He said, any man will cheat if his heart isn't right. Regardless of beauty, regardless of what they look like, how they act, any man will cheat if his heart ain't right. And I thought that was key, dead on. And I wanted to use that story just as a launching pad to talk about not giving someone your heart if you haven't tested their character. Sometimes we can be so quick to jump into relationships, not only just romantic relationships, but even friendships, and we haven't tested anybody's character. We don't know what they're about. We don't know what they're capable of. And I'm not saying that stay guarded and don't let anybody in, but what I'm telling you is you got to be careful. You got to be cautious. I'm dealing with the situation right now where I have a man of God who is getting close to somebody who I'm hearing a lot of things about their character and integrity that are not good. And, sometimes it's hard to talk to people about, hey, you man over here, this girl over here, maybe they're not the person that you think they are. Sometimes it can be hard for them to get the revelation because they don't see it. We're just blinded by like, oh, we think they're so awesome, and so I just wanted to encourage you to get rid of the snakes and the fakes. Everything this is the old saying, right? Everything that looks good to you ain't good for you. And you got to get rid of the snakes and the fakes. I mean, we can even, and yes, we need to examine our own hearts as well. I completely agree. And so we need to examine our hearts. We need to examine the heart of others and do what is best for us. And ultimately, God knows what's best for us. He knows who He has in our lives. He knows who He wants to have in our lives. He knows what divine connections He wants for us. And it reminds me of the story of Samson and Delilah, and I teach our youth this. The story of Samson and Delilah is so interesting. because Delilah was busy setting Samson up. Samson was a man of God. He was called by God. He was called to do great things with God's help. And he went down to see Delilah, went to go visit, Delilah, who was there to do him no good. It was a girl who was setting him up from the very beginning. I mean, was meeting with his enemy, the Philistines, and was being paid to find out the secret of his strength. He was the strongest man in the land. She was being paid to find out the secret of his strength. And so check this out. She's sitting there with him, and he's staying up in her house, in her crib, and she's setting him up. She's asking him, well, what's the secret of your strength? Come on, baby, tell me what's the secret of your strength. And he lied to her several times, but he finally told her, biggest mistake of his life. He shared his secrets with somebody who was a counterfeit in his life. And I always have a saying, counterfeit friends are worse than real enemies, because enemies, you got guards up, you got walls up. Hey, you know they're haters, so you expect for them to do you no good. But counterfeit friends, counterfeit relationships, you expect for them to do you well. You expect to trust them. You expect to invite them into your house, and they are going to do some good for your household. So counterfeit friends, you have to stay away from. And how do you know if a friend's a counterfeit? I believe the only way we can truly know is when we trust and depend on God to speak to us, to speak to our hearts. And we got to know those who are with us and those who are not with us. Everybody who looks like they are with us are not always with us. And just like Samson and Delilah was setting him up, found out the source of his strength because he confided in somebody who was not the real thing, not the authentic. He confided in a snake instead of the authentic friend. And as he confided in a snake, that snake bit him. And she went, told the Philistines, got paid, told his enemies how to defeat him. They cut his hair. He got weak, and then they captured him, put him in prison. How many of us have ever felt like because of a bad relationship that we are now stuck in this prison where we are being tortured because we decided to put our trust in somebody who was out to do us no good? We can't do it. So my advice to you, eliminate the snakes and the fakes. Eliminate people who are not there for you. That's right. You cannot expect people to live up to your standards, expectations. You got to check your expectations. And I believe that you check your expectations, also check the people that you're allowing into your life. You got to check them at the door. I mean, I think about the Garden of Eden and how Satan came as a serpent to try to deceive Eve. And I believe that snakes manipulate with half-truth, false promises, and emotional excitement. Don't ever forget that. There's some people out there that are coming to your life. They'll slither the way into your life and manipulate you with half-truths, false promises, and emotional excitement. Get you all stirred up, all ready. And then, where are they when you need them? Or how are they doing you when you're not around? I mean, you got to make sure that you examine it. And I believe that real people and real friends will tell you the full truth. They won't just tell you half truth. They'll tell you the full truth. They won't go talk about you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They won't subtweet you. They won't be talking behind your back. And they will do good to you and do good for you when your back is turned. They will serve your best interests. I'm talking about real friends, real people, authentic. I believe that if you have a friend in your life that tells you about everybody else's business, do you know that they're out there telling someone else your business as well? Because the character of a person doesn't change from person to person. That person is who they are. Your friend is who they said they were. And if they're out there telling everybody's business, you better be careful about telling them your business. And so I'm here to just tell you, eliminate the snakes and the fakes. If you got to get the exterminator, help somebody help you exterminate the snakes and the fakes. You got to trust in God to lead you and guide you. I always advise all of our youth, when I'm teaching them, I tell them, pray about all of your relationships, romantic and friendship. Pray about all your relationships. And if you're really serious, submit all of them to the direction of the Holy Spirit. Because there's been people who have come into my life or have tried to come into my life, and God said, nope. And I actually had to keep them at a distance. There's been other people that have come into my life and God says, this is the person I've sent into your life. This is divine connection. And I invited them in. I welcomed them into my life. And it's been a fruitful, beneficial relationship ever since. And so kids always ask me how to get better friends. They say, Pastor Dave, how do we get better friends? Like you say, watch out for the snakes and fakes. You say, watch out for the counterfeit friends. Well, how do I get good friends? I know I need better friends. Here's my advice to you. I say, let the bad friends go. but decide to sow the relationship as a seed. Don't just let it go. Sow it as a seed. Don't just throw it in the garbage. Decide to sow it as a seed and say, just like, yeah, that's exactly right. Acknowledge him in all your ways. It says in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean onto your own understanding, in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And I believe that as you sow that relationship as a seed and say, God, I am laying this down and I am letting this go in obedience to you and your will, God acknowledges that. He sees that. And I am a prime example. I have seen it in my life. I've seen it in other people's lives. So how do you sow them as a seed? You decide to let them go. You decide to let them go. In your heart, you decide to let them go. And so how does that look like? That might look like not hanging out with them as much, or maybe not hanging out with them anymore at all. Maybe you don't talk to them as much, or maybe you don't talk to them at all. But you decide, when you come to a conscious decision where you've decided to just let somebody go and say, I'm going to now stop investing time in this relationship and energy in this relationship, and I am going to, on purpose, distance myself from them. And I believe that is how, under God's direction, I believe that's how you sow it as a seed. And I am a prime example. I'm not talking about this in theory. I am an example that I have let friends go and sown them as a seed under direction of God and say, God, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to let this person go. And God has brought into my life people who are 10 times better friends than the ones I let go. And I've seen it in other people's lives. I've advised other people in this, and I've seen it happen in their lives. Sometimes I've watched it with my own eyes, and I've been able to watch their life, and I watch them let somebody else go, and then I watch them get closer to somebody who had their best interest in mind, that they grew closer to God together, that they grew closer to their purpose and started to just really find success. And so I believe a true friend is someone who will love you and not just accept you. But this is the point I want to make. A true friend accepts you just how you are, but loves you too much to let you stay that way. They love you too much to let you stay in the place you are, and so they keep trying to push you towards greatness. They see your potential. They understand that there's good things in you, and so they love you enough that they are going to continue to inspire you and encourage you in the right way that you should go. Hey, they're going to call wrong, wrong. They're going to say what's right is right, and they're going to encourage you in the things that you need to do. And so I believe that you have some authentic friends out there that you may not be aware of yet, but you need to ask God to help lead you and guide you so you can find those authentic friends and exterminate the fakes and the snakes. Now, sometimes some people ask, hey, what'll happen to my friend if I walk away? Like, what'll happen to them? Like, I'm their hope. I'm their encouragement. I help give them God, and, they don't really believe in God, but I help inspire them and encourage them. And, they've come to church with me a couple times. And so, like, what do I do? I can't just walk away from them. So here's what I say to that. What you should ask is what's going to happen to me if I don't walk away. Not what's going to happen to them if you walk away. What's going to happen to you if you don't walk away? I always tell our youth, you don't have to be intimately connected with somebody for God to reach them. Because your assignment, your goal is to be able to walk in love towards everybody. Haters, people who love you, you walk in love towards everybody. That's your assignment. But God did not call you to be connected with somebody else who is out to do you no good and pull you down. So now you can suffer heartache. You can get in trouble. He's not into setting traps for you. God is not into setting traps for us. There's nothing about that is in God's nature. He wants the best for us. And so just like a good father, he's going to warn us and say, no, come out of that relationship. It's my job to save them. It's my job to deliver them. I'm talking about God. It's his job to be able to bless them, to push them towards greatness, to be able to bring them to a place where they can be successful in life. That's God's job. That's not my job. All I am is I'm a vessel. And all if I can do is just be an encouragement to them, cool, I'll be an encouragement to them. But I don't need to be intimately connected with somebody in order for God to save them or help them. You know why? Because I can pray for them from afar. I don't have to be on the phone with them 1 hour a day to be able to know that my prayers are reaching them. Because there's no time and distance in God. So all I have to do is say, God, I believe that what you said is true. I'm going to follow your direction. And you follow his direction and everything else will work out. And so you put them in the hands of God. And so I want to encourage you, get rid of the snakes and the fakes. Accept the real friends, the true friends, the authentic friends, the ones that God has written into your story, and those who he has not written into your story that belong in the chapter of 2015, leave them back in 2015 and believe that God will do the rest of the miracle in their life. So I appreciate you guys logging on. Thank you so much for all the hearts, and thank you so much for all the encouragement. I see all of the comments, and so I just want to let you know that that God has a great plan for you, and he has a plan even for all of your relationships. And so thank you so much for logging on. Once again, my name is DavidSWinston. If you're not following already, please follow and don't miss any of the inspirational, motivational, revelational Periscopes. I like encouraging people to become the best version of themselves, to be able to reach their purpose and God's plan and destiny for their lives. So thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys logging on. Make sure to share this with somebody else. Come on, encourage other people. Don't stay with the snakes and the fakes. Eliminate them, push them out, exterminate them. Sometimes you got to put your walking shoes on and walk out of their lives. You know, like Martin used to say, get to stepping. How many of y'all used to watch Martin? Gets to stepping, kick people out of his house. And so sometimes you get to put your walking shoes on and step on out of their lives, because that's not what God has for you. And so thank you so much for logging on. I appreciate it. Have a great day and enjoy the beginning of your weekend.